I think I started with ceramics because of the material that it was. When you work with it, it changes. You have to know how hard to push and how hard not to. It's this battle of control and non-control. In one way, I'm a control freak, and I think clay just kicks me in the teeth all the time. My first encounter with clay happened during Vietnam, and I didn't know it was clay. We had crossed the river and came out of the water and went up a hillside. The hillside was very slippery, so every few steps you would fall down and come face to face with clay.
Nearly 50 years later, Thomas has fully embraced clay, and he uses it to tell the stories of where he's been.
War tablets are a historical record of my time in Vietnam, but they're more than that. Because now I'm getting people who were on the other side. It goes up to the top.
Oh, this is
Yep. War is not just about soldiers, it's about civilians. When I look at these, if I allow myself, I get pretty emotional. But I just do that probably on my own at night in here. This image is of my medic, Doc, Bill Dworick. He set up his medicines and all the kids came over and he took care of their aches and pains. And we were moving out to our night position. We were ambushed. Just outside of this village. And a number of people were killed.
Why did you choose this photo for this piece?
I think it has to do with capturing some happiness in a shitty situation.
Thomas grew up outside Sacramento, California. Entering high school, he was just 4'11", but his size didn't stop him.
I was a jock in high school. I was on the third string, part of the Mosquito backfield. I think about 1964 is when I knew I was going to go to Vietnam. And going to Vietnam was not about carrying a flag. It was about a rite of passage. It was about, can I do this? Our mission was more search and destroy. One day, we were out on patrol, and I was going to walk around and check the area. And I stepped on what is called a bouncing Betty. And it's a mine that explodes out of the ground initially, and then it blows up in the air, and it's designed to take your head off. And when the one I stepped on came out of the ground, it came out sideways. And I received multiple frag wounds from that. I was very lucky. We had a guy a month and a half earlier step on one and lost his head. I work in a way that work, that creates ideas. And I kept coming up with these 3 red dots, 3 red circles on these pieces. And I realized they were 3 sons, S-U-N-S. And they were John Mills, Dwayne Papke, and Jesse Palmer. And they were 3 guys in my platoon that were killed. it's important to keep their memory alive, even to me. As long as I do that, as long as I say their names, they're still alive. And yeah, I talk to them. When I first came back, I moved up into the foothills in Northern California. I had a beard and I had long hair and I had glasses. And so the only thing you could see in my face was right here and right here. You know, I was hidden. So I started making pots. I was making pots to sell, but I didn't sell any. Nobody wanted them. Probably in 1985, my life was coming apart in many ways, and that's when I realized that something was wrong. And then ended up going to a PTSD program in Menlo Park. When I went to the PTSD program, more Vietnam veterans had committed suicide than were killed in the war. And I learned a lot about Vietnam, some things that I had blanked out of my memory. Up until that time, I thought my life was going down a trail, waiting for an ambush, and reacting. I didn't realize I could take a different trail.
In 1995, Thomas was hired to head the ceramics department at the Oregon College of Art and Craft in Portland. He imagined he'd stick around for 2 years.
Guerrilla art.
He stayed for 18.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that OCAC has probably one of the best undergraduate degrees in the country. But OCAC really teaches you to think, and it teaches you to be an artist. When I was getting ready to retire from OCAC, we have this beautiful studio, Joanna, my wife and I, but I wasn't finished with education. So closing it off will take that utility, that functionality away from it.
But still has my thoughts.
We developed Emerging Artist Mentorship Program at Ash Street.
Finding the rim here.
We have 3 or 4 people a year come work with us for 11 months. I think of myself as an artist that happens to be a veteran. I don't think of myself as a veteran artist that only works in this vein. We all have wounds. They're just different wounds. And if you work with your wounds, and I work with mine, when I see your work, it touches me.
Do you think about Vietnam?
Do you mean how many times a day? Do I think about Vietnam? Yes, I think about Vietnam. There's no after Vietnam. It is. We live it. Hopefully we heal.